Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where everything you're about to hear and see has been done in one take. I'm your host, the One Take Man. Today I find myself on the Courage the Cowardly Dog subreddit because I'm going to look at the Courage the Cowardly Dog Iceberg. There's a lot to cover, and unlike the last video or bunch of videos I made where I talked about where I talked about an iceberg, I'm gonna try to be concise, but still, still explain as much as I can. Starting off at the in the first tier, the clear sky, we have this picture over here, which doesn't, and this frame doesn't really show up anywhere in the show itself. But if I'm not mistaken, it's the cover for the first season's DVD. Anyway, moving ahead, we got red for facts, yellow for theories. First fact: King Ramses. Yeah, one of the most one of the most infamous episodes of the entire show, specifically because of how it freaked a lot of freaked a lot of kids out. Still, therefore, one of the most and is still one of the most memorable villains of the entire series. Then again, it's not just it's not just Ramsey's appearance that makes him stand out, but also the entire episode is very well put together. One of the best in the one of the best of the series. So I am not surprised that King Ramses made it. Makes it up here. Next up, our first theory: there aren't actually any monsters. Yeah, the theory goes that the entire show is actually occurs in Courage's head, and he thinks he lives in the middle of nowhere because his owners are old and don't allow him to, and don't get him on a lot of walks. So he thinks there's literally nothing else, and then all the monsters are just people the owners would come across. I am not particularly fond of all of those theories like this that go, oh, the events that happen within the show aren't actually happening. Well, yeah, of course it's fiction, but why do you have to trivialize it to that extent? Anyway, next up, Freaky Fred, another of the more memorable villains of the show. Even has his own episode that is structured around making him freaky, and also the episode around him works quite well. So yeah, no surprise he's in this top level. Next up, You're Not Perfect. I am somewhat surprised that this this one like 7-second sequence in the last episode of this show manages to be this iconic that it actually makes it in the first level. But there it is. For those of you who don't know, the context here is that Courage is going through a crisis of identity and doesn't know what to do with himself. So he tries to be as good as possible, as close to perfect as possible, and and that's driving him crazy. In the middle of in the middle of that, he goes through a whole bunch of he has a few dream sequences or nightmare sequences, and chief among them is a weird creature that tells him that he's not perfect, and then perfect echoes out, which, yeah, okay. I only saw that as an adult, but still, I get it. The violin girl scene, another throwaway scene that pretty much everyone remembers for some reason. From Courage in the big stinking city, Courage is trying to look for, something in this in a huge building. And when he opens up some doors, he finds scenes from a variety of horror or monster movies. And then he opens one girl. He opens one girl. That's gonna get clipped. But then he opens one door and finds that there is a girl playing the violin, and finds it relaxing. And then the girl turns around, jump scare. Yeah, that's another thing that's that turns out is memorable, but really benefits from the build up around it. Next up, this is a little hard to read here. The trauma that the series created. Yeah, I already explained it. There are like four entries so far that are just about, whoa, this show freaked me out. Yeah. DVD, Well, I already mentioned this is from a DVD cover, so of course the whole series is out on DVD if you're interested. I can't really say what else those DVDs have, but that's secondary. Stupid dog. Yeah, this is what Eustace constantly calls courage for a variety of reasons. Primarily because the ways uh, courage goes about solving these, solving the various issues that are, various issues throughout the episodes, end up end up inconveniencing him. That is also used by the villains for the exact same reason. Okay, now we go to tier two, top of the iceberg, and we got here this this iconic mask, which we'll get into soon enough. Some monsters are not mean. Well, yeah, that's basically the whole that's basically the whole premise of the show, that that every single being Courage encounters has its own level of emotional and intellectual dimension that is sometimes obscured by them having a more unusual appearance. And a lot of times, Courage doesn't really as much defeat the villains as he either placates them or shows them the error of their ways, which allows them to abandon um, their more aggressive or ruffian attitudes. Next up, Ooga Booga Mask, as in this thing right here, that Eustace, the previously mentioned guy who keeps abusing Courage, also uses to scare him. That comes up more in the beginning of the show than it does throughout the rest for whatever reason. And really, it is this mask that ties into this show on a thematic and mythological level, because it is revealed in the season one episode Mother's Day that uh, is how Eustace's parents, or at least his mother, used to scare him and keep him under control as well. So that theme, that history behind, really adds a lot of dimension to the uh, thematic weight that the show carries. The Moon Spirit, another one of the villains, another entry referring to a villain uh, from the series. The full name of this creation is actually Spirit of the Harvest Moon, and it's just really an IRL head floating in the that shows up to taunt Eustace, because even though he's a farmer, he didn't actually grow anything, and because of that he doesn't actually deserve to live on the land. That's kind of that's kind of his deal, and it also resulted in one of the uh, best episodes in the series. I've already talked about it quite a bit, so yeah. Moving on, we've got Cats. I have to say, surprised that Cats is only in the second tier, even though he is the villain with the most appearances in the show. For my money, and yeah, Cats is very interesting because he is very much like a cat, both playful and sadistic, and in many ways, in many ways actually is able to match, challenge, overcome Courage. So that's and therefore, even though it doesn't perhaps look like much when lined up to the rest of the Rogues Gallery, he is actually among the more menacing, more dangerous antagonists. But I guess him not being very striking really helps keep him uh, out of the infamy of the general audience. Next up, part in CGI. Yeah, this show is actually this show actually used to integrate various CGI aspects within it itself. I already touched upon a few so far: King Ramses and the "You're Not Perfect" thing. The "You're Not Perfect" creature. Those are not the only ones, but they are the most. But they are some of the ones that are most immediate, most obviously apparent. Next up, the things I do for love. Something, something Courage is actually quoted saying a few times, particularly when he's about to do something that is, either very messy or very difficult, because he wants to protect his owners. So that's what's going on. Shotgun slash mask. This is why I zoomed in on this picture, because when I saw it in at regular size, I thought this said shotgun mask, and I was like, wait, what? There was one, but now I see it's shotgun slash mask. This actually refers to an interesting piece of censorship, or rather, something that was redesigned at some point, because I think Eustace was meant to carry a shotgun in the either in the intro or at various points throughout the series. But then, last moment, the network decided, nope, let's put the Ooga Booga mask, around him instead. In between, just between you and me, I think the shotgun would have been more effective against like invaders or stuff like that. But then again, it might have been that in that sequence we're talking about, Eustace didn't intend to use it on any outsider, but intended to use it to scare Courage. In which case, the mask, well, it is perhaps a more understandable feature to use, and also it has a history, as I've already explained. Live action integration, I already talked about that. With the Spirit of the Harvest Moon, but that's not the only moment where it was brought up. There are other sequences, other segments in live action that occur, primarily shown on the TV that Eustace is watching. But yeah, but I can't really say much more about it. It exists. And then, straight out of nowhere, Scooby-Doo meets Courage the Cowardly Dog. Oh yeah, the one main crossover Courage has had with Scooby-Doo, which is perhaps not surprising, given they're both horror franchises aimed at kids, where the central character is a dog. And I already actually did a review of that movie, and suffice it to say, it's not very good. It's a fun romp, but it doesn't really have anything of note to say. Now we're going into the shallows with Exorcist reference, aka the episode "Demon in the Mattress" from season 1. The idea behind it is that the Bag family orders a new mattress, only to find out that, surprise, it's actually inhabited by a demon, which ends up possessing Muriel. And from that point forward, that's kind of the plot that's going for. And I pretty much have to applaud a kids show which which takes the premise of the Exorcist, a movie that 26 years ago was considered too scary to air in general, and instead manages to take it to a more age appropriate place. So that takes a lot of balls, but also it takes a lot of elegance. Not surprisingly, it is also one of the it also is one of the best episodes in the series. Next up, Bunny and Kitty relationship. Going from season 1 to season 4, the episode The Mask, and it's revealed that the bearer of the titular mask is actually a cat who is upset with all dogs because of the relationship her friend has with a different dog. And Courage figures that out eventually and manages to help the friend escape the relationship and escape that escape that dog. But that's not what this is about. That is about the relationship between the two cats, Bunny and Kitty, which has been speculated as being not just friendship, and I'm not sure if it was confirmed or denied in any way. I think it's confirmed. I think it's been confirmed. But then again, it is in red, so most likely there is a canon lesbian couple in Courage the Cowardly Dog. Next up, Zalost means sadness in Croatian. Yeah, it actually means sorrow, if I'm not mistaken, and also it wouldn't be spoken as Zalost because I'm not sure Croatian has the z sound. It would most likely be Jalos or something. But yeah, otherwise it is very much in keeping with the theme of that particular character, Doctor Zalos, and how he wants to make everyone unhappy. So in order to mirror his own mood. The pilot was nominated for an Academy Award. That is very much true. The pilot, I think, first aired in 1996 and was nominated for the 97 Academy Award for Best Animated Short. It lost to Wallace and Gromit, but oh well, what you gonna do? Next up, we've got 3D Reboot. Not exactly sure. Not exactly sure what that is. Oh, I think I do. Uh, after the show ended, there has been talks about potentially either continuing it or starting it again, i.e., rebooting it. And one of the things that would separate this reboot would be that it would be in 3D. As far as I am aware, the only the only thing connected to that reboot is was its intended pilot, Fog of Courage. But otherwise it kind of was dead in the water. Also, I haven't talked about this image here, which I do not recognize or understand, so I'm just gonna say it exists and move on. To the second theory of this iceberg, it was cancelled. Oh yeah, because Courage was always kind of a network darling, as in it always had, it aired quite frequently. It had a lot of people singing its praises more or less, and was on was in a somewhat heavy rotation too. A lot of people liked it, not just in front of the screens, but also backstage. Which and It was somewhat surprising that right when it was going through its renaissance, as I've as I've talked about in my retrospective about how season 4 is actually among the better seasons. People are just saying it was canceled right when it would seem to hit its stride again. And to that I say that to that I can say that it is very much not true. I think John Dilworth, the creator himself, confirmed that it confirmed that he actually put a stop to it because he was running out of ideas and was perhaps perhaps also growing a little bit disillusioned with the entire process and wanted to end the series on his own terms, which good for him. I'm glad he managed to do that, and I'm glad and I'm glad the his work was actually was as successful both from a commercial standpoint, and also but more directly from a narrative or animation technical perspective. Next up, reboot hoax. Well, I've already talked about a potential reboot. So it's likely there was at one point a hoax about it's the reboot, that thing we were talking about. It's actually going to happen, and etc. Only for it then to be proven wrong. So yeah, I'm not really sure about that. Hamilton. Yeah, I got nothing for this. I have no idea what it's talking about. Uh, I have to specify that I have very little context for a lot of things about this iceberg. I'm just going off of my own memory and what I know about the series. So far, it's been able to carry me quite well, but looking back, there are some things I'm gonna have to go where I might be silent on because I don't know. Next up, nowhere is in the middle of Kansas. Indeed, that is true. That is confirmed to be a fact in the show. I think it was first mentioned in the season 2 episode "Courage to Fly," where it was said that that a satellite was going to fall somewhere in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, and it showed that it would fall right on the Bag farmhouse. It ultimately didn't fall. It ultimately, funnily enough, it didn't exactly fall onto the household, but rather it fell into it upwards, which was a little weird. And also various other iterations have since confirmed it, including the Straight Outta Nowhere movie. Next up, They Might Be Giants special. Uh, I am aware that They Might Be Giants is, as a cult band. It has a small but dedicated following and therefore has been able to keep going, even though it didn't really amass the levels of fame other acts have. And I would not be surprised if there was some kind of special or crossover between between this band and Courage the Cowardly Dog. But if it did happen, I think it happened. In the album format rather than in an audio format rather than a visual one, because I can't really recall having seen it anywhere. Then again, I didn't really go through all visual material available for this franchise, so it could still be out there. Okay, moving ahead a little bit deeper into down the iceberg. This picture here is Dilly says don't smoke. Okay. I'm pretty sure I recognize the frame somewhere from the show, but can't really say much about it. So let's start with the first item here, Dilly. I assume we're talking about this guy. I assume that Dilly is meant to be an in-universe mascot figure, the same way someone like Hello Kitty operates within our world, which is not actually that surprising, because if you look closely, you'll find other references to the creator John Dilworth throughout the show. For example, I think a vacuum cleaner is labeled as Dilvac or something like that, and also in general the syllable Dil comes up from time to time. The French voice actor of Courage is the same as that of Scooby-Doo. Yeah, not surprising. But it also helps clear up how Straight Outta Nowhere got made, another connection between the franchises. Next up, Eustace voice actors. Not sure why it's spelled Eustache here, but here we go. That is also something I can speak with some level of authority. The fact that Eustace has had maybe 3, maybe 4 voice actors throughout all of the mainline visual media appearances. For the first 2 seasons and a little bit of the third, he was voiced by a guy whose name I forgot, but who I will admit was the best. Was the best voice actor for the guy. The second voice actor was Arthur Anderson, if I'm not mistaken, and I think Arthur Anderson voiced him from that point up until up until and including Straight Outta Nowhere, and then the Fog of Courage pilot, I think, had a different character who voiced Eustace. Of the other characters, or of the other leading characters, Courage was basically throughout the entire run voiced by Marty Grabstein, or to be more precise, clips of Marty Grabstein's voice were constantly used for Courage the Cowardly Dog, and he kept getting credited for it because it was his voice. And then there was Thea White, who voiced Muriel from the beginning of the show up until Straight Outta Nowhere, when she actually voiced the character posthumously. She might have also voiced Muriel in Fog of Courage, but I don't think she did. Japan commercial. Yeah, I got no clue what this is talking about, but it would not surprise me that hyper-capitalist Japan would have its own particular somewhat strange commercial for this for this show, one that maybe didn't air anywhere and became infamous as a result. Eustace and Muriel are dead. Another fan theory. One that actually has some level of backing within the show, because the last episode of season one, the Great Fusili, both of them are turned into puppets, and then at the end of the episode, Courage actually puppeteers the two in order to reenact um, a daily, one of their daily scenes, and yeah, it would not surprise, and yeah, going from that point forward, everyone was kind of speculating that the rest of the series, so seasons 2 to 4, and maybe even beyond that, were actually just Courage play acting with the puppet corpses, so to speak. So yeah, a dark theory, but the show itself kind of goes into some dark places. So that is perhaps not surprising at all. Next up, YouTube channel. I would not be surprised if there actually is a Courage the Cowardly Dog YouTube channel, though me personally, I never looked it up. Whenever I did see like clips of Courage the Cowardly Dog on YouTube, it was mostly either uploaded by randos in compilations and such, or by official Cartoon Network channels, mainly kids channels. I have to say. So if there was an official Courage the Cowardly Dog channel, I really can't say. Courage the Cowardly Dog alternate outro. I have I have little knowledge of that. The main outro I am aware of with Courage the Cowardly Dog is the one that is the one that basically looks like a print that has a lot of his reactions and expressions on it, over which the credits are shown. If there is an alternate one, I don't think I've ever seen it. I have seen the the CG one where CG Courage takes a bow or whatever. But if there is another alternate outro, I can't speak to it. The space chicken may still be alive. The second theory on this iceberg, and yeah, I can see how that's a theory people can arrive at. For those unaware, the space chicken was actually the villain from the pilot, the one that I previously mentioned got nominated for an Academy Award, and and within that pilot, it actually died, killed by its own weapon. That didn't prevent it from returning in the series as a fried chicken in the season 1 episode Revenge of the Chicken from Outer Space. And and from that position, it still managed to, even though it was fried, it still managed to become still managed to embody the role of the villain for that piece, and it was one of the best episodes of the entire run. Arguably had the best plotting of the entire series. By the end of the episode, the chicken and its spaceship were blown up by what is never really confirmed, but it's quite likely to be a nuclear weapon. Then again, and I don't know, a nuclear weapon is a little bit harder to survive than than a shot from a laser gun, even a handheld one, especially a handheld one. So yeah, I can say that. So I'm pretty sure this is unlikely to be the case. Like if in universe could be, but it is unlikely, especially given that there's been another follow up on the pilot, the son of the chicken from outer space, which I think pretty much confirmed that the chicken died because the titular son arrived on Earth to get revenge. Then again, it could be that the chicken society didn't know, couldn't know if it, if it died or not. So yeah. Whether or not they would actually send a son if they didn't have the kill confirmation is something that hasn't been that hasn't been cleared up, because for a variety of reasons, primarily because trying to give that level of definition to a menace in horror typically diminishes it. Last on this tier, we got Lost Courage CCF promo. Not exactly sure what CCF is, but yeah. Unsurprisingly, there's been a promo for this show that has been lost, either aired once or never. I really can't say. Next up, we've got the second to last tier. This picture here is actually a frame from the pilot episode. Just as just as Courage, who is kind of vaguely seen here as a little pink blot behind this fog of black dust that falls apart. This this little this little fog of black dust is actually a transformed Eustace, who has been had to be vaporized in order to save Muriel. Anyway, let's look at the actual things on the iceberg itself. Real life inspiration. Yeah, I think there's been uh, I think it's been mentioned at least once that Dilworth actually saw uh, a, a house that looked very similar to the Bag Farm, and that really inspired him to think about the kind of family that would that would live there, which is and from that point forward he may be he may be uh, built the rest of the premise around that. Whether he actually knew anyone who was who was like Eustace and Muriel, and who lived together with their dog, is something I haven't really looked up to, I will admit. So I can't really comment one way or another. Next up, Howard Hoffman. Not exactly sure who that is. My guess is it's either an exec or a or someone who is supposed to be a voice actor for the show. Either way, I can't really comment on it. Skinwalker theory. Oh yeah, the idea is that the idea behind this theory is that Courage is actually a skinwalker, a practitioner of Native American magic, or supernatural arts if you prefer, who was who ended up being trapped in the in his in a dog body, which yeah yeah, I could see that. Or I could see how people could think that, especially when you consider that there are lots of aspects about Courage that are not really typical of dogs, and he acts he acts a little bit more human in terms of how he responds to the various threats presented to him. Personally, I don't know. Like there has like this series kind of does have a chicken kitchen uh, sink approach to mythology, as in just throw everything in. But there haven't really been any representations of Native American mysticism. So for that reason, I can't really say one way or another whether or not whether this theory actually holds any water. I don't personally ascribe to it though. So make of that what you will. Censorship in certain countries. Well, that goes a little bit. That goes with something that has been mentioned like 3 tiers earlier, the shotgun slash mask thing, and about 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 just specifically what kind of balancing act it actually took to get this horror show for a young audience on the screen. And unsurprisingly, that balancing act didn't work for the sensitivities of every broadcaster available. So yeah, I would not be surprised that there are instances of this show getting censored or getting censored in various countries. And in fact, looking back on it, I've I actually caught some some episodes of it in my in my native Romania quite recently, and I remember thinking not necessarily that those episodes ended up changed, but I was surprised that there were certain episodes that did not get shown at all. And also, I've mentioned that I've seen some clips on the on Cartoon Network official channels. Well, you can guess that those clips were also somewhat truncated, as in didn't really go into some seriously dark stuff. Next up, Upa et Tex Avery influence. Not sure what Upa it is supposed to mean, but Tex Avery influence, yeah, I can very much see that, because Tex Avery was, as an animator, if I'm not mistaken, quite known for going off model and doing some more crazy offbeat stuff with the with the characters he was animating or illustrating, and that is very much the case with Courage the Cowardly Dog, and with all the ways in which not just his appearance changes, but also in all the other crazy stuff that is done with the animation of this show. Next up, the subliminal message in The Chicken from Outer Space. I must not have caught it. I would not doubt that it actually is there, but I can't really say anything about it. Racial problem. Well, of course, of course a certain piece of media will have certain issues in terms of in terms of what is considered acceptable. As for the, I can't really think of anything that was shown that would be particularly problematic, except for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dog, a season 4 episode which, while ostensibly a love letter to martial arts cinema, did still have a lot of Orientalist, did still utilize a lot of Orientalist archetypes in order to tell its story. So, yeah, that's kind of problematic. But beyond that, I think I would not be surprised to learn that there have been issues like behind the scenes, maybe, with various with certain, with for example lots of villains that were portrayed by minority figures. But then again, villains were the villains were the majority of this show's cast, if you really think about it. So not having villains played by played by minorities at all would be would arguably be the worst form of discrimination. But I digress. I can't really speak for certain about this, but I can say that it is a thing. And next up, we've finally reached the depths, and this picture here it's not a frame from The Demon in the Mattress, the previously mentioned Exorcist show, but it does look like a pretty interesting rendition of an art piece that would be based off of that episode. Starting with a theory, Courage is a beagle. Admittedly, this is more subject to speculation, because exactly what breed Courage is supposed to be is is not something that has been particularly delved into or explored in any meaningful manner. But him being a beagle seems to be the dominant theory, primarily because of the anatomy of his face, which really is the most dog-like aspect of his appearance. So, yeah, I can see that. I can't really say anything else about it. Courage, Scooby, and Shaggy. I would not be surprised if they were, they showed up together in a variety of ways before before the Straight Outta Nowhere movie, and I can say that they pretty much formed a trio within the Straight Outta Nowhere movie, a trio that was severely mishandled and in many ways represents a lot of the biggest problems that movie has. But that's beyond the pale of this video. Check out my review of the check out the video where I review Straight Outta Nowhere for more details. Cartoon Network promos. So I'm guessing this is talking about one promo in particular that was a little bit too disturbing. I can't really comment on that. But there have been other videos talking about this Iceberg, so maybe they go into that. So if that interests you, go ahead and check it out. Cinema Mind. Again, I can't really comment on it. Perhaps this guy is I assume this guy was a YouTuber who also talked about the show and ended up going into some messed up Marvel Hornets level of mental fuckery in terms of the presentations he would have he would have about the show. So yeah, not surprising, but I'm not particularly interested in going any further about that either. The voice actress of the mother of Eustace, who is still called Eustace here, died 4 days before 9/11. Yeah, I can see that. And actually, going through the timeline of her character's appearances, yeah, that seems quite plausible. I am somewhat surprised that she, unlike her son, wasn't recast, but yeah, whatever. Uh, this is something to note. Though a lot of other people died in the days, and not just at 9/11, but in the days before 9/11. So this is more of a weird coincidence rather than anything else. And now we'll conclude the iceberg with another theory. The demon in the mattress is from hell, i.e., Christian hell. I assume this is what the uh, this is what the series is talking about. And really, this is really not too big of a leap in terms of theories, given that the entire episode, "The Demon in the Mattress," is an Exorcist reference, and The Exorcist is very much about a demon demon possession, and it does that, and it does something that is simultaneously very racist and very Christian supremacist, in that it says that some other culture's deity is quite literally a demon and evil and out for control, which, yeah, not a great look. Not a great look. Let's just say it like that. But as for this actual episode, whether or not the demon itself is from hell, well, that would require the Christian hell actually existing within Courage the Cowardly Dog, which in turn might necessitate the larger Christian cosmogony to also exist. And well, let's just say there are deities outside of the capital G, Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, guy who show up. So yeah, so Christianity either isn't a thing in Courage the Cowardly Dog, or it is a thing among many other things. But if that is the case, and then really this demon would be the only piece of evidence that would point towards that. How else could that demon appear? I really can't say, because I am not familiar enough with any other possessions of humans by spirits in other mythologies. So I really can't say. It's a good theory. One that I personally am a little bit more ambivalent towards. Anyway, that was it. That was the Courage the Cowardly Dog Iceberg, as well as my commentary about it. I very much hope you enjoyed following me up on this. If you did, well then please like the video, maybe even share it wherever you think other people will also like the video. If there is anything you'd like to add, either to the iceberg itself or to my commentary about it, that's what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe, and ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. I also have a main channel where I talk about book-related and literature contents. A link to which you can find in the description down below, right past my social media links, which I also suggest you check out should you choose to. If, however, you want to hear me talk about stuff not related to books or literature, then I suggest you stay on this channel and go through my stuff. This is currently the third video of the third Courage the Cowardly Dog month. So, so at least in that end, I got a. So if you're still interested in Courage the Cowardly Dog, I got an entire playlist for you to for you to check out. Though if you're stumbling upon this, you most likely found it after already having found one of my other Courage the Cowardly Dog videos. So you might be interested in knowing what my thoughts on a variety of other franchises could be, either superhero stuff or horror stuff or or a whole variety of other things. I have my hands in a lot of pies. Or maybe you can look into my some of my gameplay videos. And if none of what I've suggested is of interest to you, then I suggest you go ahead and do whatever you want with the rest of your day because it is your day after all. And that was all I had to say. Until next time, I have been the One Take Man.